before I put any gloves on, what I'm going to be doing is putting some Tetris thinner, cellulose thinner, and just giving this a wipe around here prior to putting the oil seal back on the gasket. Perfect. We need to do both sides, not just this side. I'll use the clean end then just to give that a wipe. And that should be grease free. All that stuff stinks. And as I keep saying, I can't stress enough that that's the weak point, that little bit there where the Christmas tree sits for leaking, and above it it's only about 5mm wide, and your pump oil from the gearbox. If that's not sealed properly all around, this part's the most critical part of the engine to seal. You can keep topping up engine oil, etc., but unless you get fed up like me and you end up changing the oil seal that was leaking on the kickstart, but I've already discussed that anyway. So I just need some more for this side. Don't need tons, you only need to give it a wipe. This side's easier because we've got no studs in the way. It does clean up really well. I'm just giving that a wipe all around, especially around the crank area, because I do want it to seal there. Now, depending on your train of thought, and different people do different ways, and I will show you something. I don't normally bother to knock this pin out, but the locating pin in the bottom, little dowel there, some people say to take that out before, either knock it out or knock it back through. You might have to warm the cases up, which I'm not going to do with the engine just being wiped down with cellulose thinner, because it will go boom up in smoke. So I've cleaned that side off and put that down there for a second, because we're going to need our gaskets. I mean, look at the dirt that's come off of that. Dead worth doing, isn't it? So what I'm going to do on here is I'm going to I've never used this gasket set in sealer before, normally hematite or hylamide or whatever it's called nowadays. So this one's actually clear, and again, I would always do this side. But there's a sense of opinion to do it the other side, so whatever. I'll do the other side for a change, just to be awkward. But yeah, there's our nice new seal. It says on it, open the tube, remove cap, then use the cap to pierce the seal on the tube, cut nozzle, smooth with a knife for 3 to 4 minutes of application. Drying time is dependent on bead thickness, and it should be touch dry in 15 minutes. So I need a gasket set out, which is behind me. And here, one new gasket set. Not worth messing around with old gaskets, they're just too cheap to mess around with, basically. Not worth messing. So that's the engine side one. I'll just put that safe. And what I'm going to do is I'll just hang that on there for the time being so it doesn't get dirty. I'm going to take the lid off of that. Right, well, we've got a hole there now. I'm just going to put the oh, it hasn't got a cap over that, has it? Nope. What I'm going to do is get this side of the engine, the kickstart side, and just put a bead around. I've got both sides done. I just need to spread that around, make it nice and even. Not bad stuff actually, I'm quite impressed with it. Nice and even around here. Make sure that the back ends of here I've got some on top all around. Like I say, this part here is critical. And what we're going to do is just tidy up any overflow on the inside there. Right. I'll just spin the crank, because that gives you room to just wipe inside here where the two halves touch. And around in there, keep it nice and clean. You don't want no ribs, you don't want nothing high. That's perfect. Then all we need to do is put our kickstart sprocket on, like so, and grease up our kickstart spring for the other side, and just put a bead of grease in. I can just show you where. We just need to put a little bead of grease around here so that the kickstart spring, return spring, sits in there and doesn't fall out. And the spring just sits in there then, got nowhere to go. Here. Then we can offer up the kickstart side. I'll take that off. Have to use my screwdriver in there again. Whatever I've done with it, there it is. That's it. Keeps me for over tightening bolts. Nuts, I should say. And what we need to just do as well, which is often overlooked, I'll pick that up in a second, is just put a dab of grease just on this oil seal part there. You don't need to put grease on here because it's lubricated by the two-stroke in the engine. Right, so we're ready to put the two halves together. Give them a wipe. Right. Kickstart down, and that one half should go in and the other half should go in. I need to give it a tap. Probably because I'm laid down here, it's a little bit in the way, isn't it? just using the wooden part. That on there, they do normally go back a hell of a lot easier than this. That's the wrong side, isn't it? Using that to just hold it. There we go. We can start putting our nuts together. And this is, I'll cut out and cut back in again when I've got the nuts loosened up and on.